Lorani, I cannot hear you. Huh? Can't hear you.
Hello, Pascal. Can you hear us
Yes.
now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, great.
Okay, so I can see Sammy, you yourself. So perfect. Shall I put my? I don't like to see myself. So.
We would like to make an intervention and then introduction to work on them abilities, and then we have a debate residential system and our solutions of that.
So you can sit here and you can speak and basically is all yours. You can start.
And the reason it was
By the way, I didn't introduce since Raj is also business analyst.
Pascal, tu nous entends? Pascal? Maybe he's on mute.
Ouais,
No.
bien sûr, je
Okay,
m'entends.
very good.
Je me mets en vidéo. Non, je pense pas que ce soit nécessaire pour l'instant. Hein. Juste, il y a combien de personnes dans la salle ou...
So shall we start? We have two people. So Pascal Manviel is our Chief Technology Officer. And we have Ara Sharmirzayan, is responsible for all R&D centers in the company. They will introduce themselves as well. So good morning, everyone. So my name is Sami Zayani. I'll very briefly take you through who we are before my colleagues Pascal Manviel and Ara Sharmirzayan will probably talk more about the technology side of the company. So basically, Webfontaine is a company made of 850 people. The headquarters is here in Dubai, but we do operate in a number of countries. We have a strong presence in the region, but also in Africa, and we are expanding more into Asia and Latin America. One of the specificity of the company is the number of people we have working in R&D centers. Roughly 30% of our employees are working in R&D, and that's it shows how the company is driven by technology. And you'll see that in many countries, actually, the company is playing a role of technology partner to either directly the government or to other entities within the country. And we do believe there's a potential for partnership here where Webfontaine could potentially provide you with a lot of different solutions and technologies that you can then implement with our support in your country. Also, the transfer of knowledge is of high importance for Webfontaine. We've been putting a lot of effort in training all our partners. So we do work in very close collaboration with our partners in the different countries where we operate, having strategic plans to transfer capabilities, responsibilities, and knowledge. So without delaying the discussion more, I'd like to give the floor to Pascal Manviel, who will talk a bit more about the technology side of the company. Thank you.
Thank you, Pascal.
Hello,
This is
thank you
our
very
Chief
much.
Technology Officer.
So my name is, I don't know if you hear me. You hear me well?
Very well.
Okay, perfect. So it's a pleasure for myself to introduce the technology aspects of our company. This year will be the 20th year for Webfontaine. Okay, so the company has been was created 20 years ago in 2002. Most of the staff which have created this company, which are at the inception of the company, have an history with customs in general. Okay, why? Because we were the makers of the Azipuda system long ago, before we joined Webfontaine. So myself, I was one of the key designers of Azipuda. Most of the staff took up from there with this experience of visiting customs administration for years. I've been visited more than 100 countries, visiting customs everywhere in the world. And so we took up from this experience to to start something that would become the portfolio of web front-end. So we started in 2007, 2008. That's when I joined the company with a custom system, which is now implemented in 5 to 6 countries. And every 2 years, we added a new product. So the custom system plus a dashboarding system, very, very, very close to it. And then in 2010, we designed ValueWeb, which is our classification and valuation tool, which is given to customs administration for the pricing of the goods. And we subsequently, when I said we started, we also implemented the system in a number of countries, like Ghana in the beginning, and then Ivory Coast, Congo later on, etc. So further to this, we in 2017 we were involved in electronic cargo tracking, meaning we follow the trucks along corridors, and at the same time we associate the truck with an electronic document, which is a customs document. It's a transit form. So we do that in 2 countries, nearly 3 with Nigeria. So we are in Benin, we are in Congo with electronic tracking of trucks, and we are now going to Nigeria as well to follow the transfer of containers from one depot to another one. So further to this, we in 2017 we starting a huge operation with the port community system. In the meantime, I didn't mention it, but in 2013, after the custom system and the dashboarding system, and just after the classification and valuation, we started a single window in general in Ivory Coast with the design of our licensing and permitting system. So, as I said, in 2017, we started a huge operation with the port. So it was something which was radically different from the operations we have usually with the custom system or the licensing, okay, or even the follow-up of trucks along a corridor. So it was something totally new, where we had to interface with all the stakeholders of the port at the same time, whether it's customs, cargo handler, carrier, even banks as well, sometimes ministries for authorizations. And we hired the best experts, domain experts, which were on the market. And we, in 2 years, we designed, 2 years and a half, we designed our port community system, which is now live in 1 country, fully live, and it's been implemented in 3 other countries. It is a radically new system, new concept compared to the existing system, which are very, very much rigid, okay, and which are also very, very well dedicated to a specific countries. Our can be installed in any country in record time, like 6 months, because everything is configurable. The taxes that are being calculated for cargo handler, carrier, and the tax which are calculated for the customs declaration as well. All the conditions for release, like haulage identification, delivery order, payment of all the fees, all these conditions are set up dynamically in the system. There's no hardcore, no core modification. So as usual, our asset is parameterization. Everything can be parameterized. That's how we can go live in very, very short amount of time. In Bahrain, for example, we went live in 5 months on the custom system, which is a record. In Ajman, in the Emirates, in the Emirate of Ajman, we went live in 3 months. Okay, so it's because everything is parameterized. So before you implement our system, you have to answer something like 100 questions. Once you have answered the question, the system is your system. Like questions like, do you use only one bill of lading per declaration or several, etc. So about 4 years ago, we started to get involved in artificial intelligence. So that these are facilities, utilities that apply for all our products and mainly for our risk management system. So the artificial intelligence is actually cover many aspects. But the first aspect where we concentrated was fraud detection. So as you know, machine learning is one of the algorithm where you have some declarations. For we take the customs declaration, we know before and if there was fraud on them. Okay, and so we what we did was we started with Bahrain, I think, data, and then we continued with Nigeria data. So we knew that there was fraud on some declaration. So we applied the machine learning algorithm. In the end, we can detect fraud on any new declaration with an accuracy of more than, I think, 85%. So this is our algorithm for fraud detection, but ARA is going to come back on it. We also have other aspects with artificial intelligence. One of them is classification. So as you know, with all the operations that we have in the world, we have millions and millions of transactions. And for these transactions, we know the description of goods and we know the product code. So we are able to build an algorithm, machine learning algorithm that will automatically give you the product code from the broad description of the product. So this is going to be also explained by ARA. It's not only machine learning in this case, also natural language. There are some semantics which applies there as well. We also have fake invoice recognition.
Recording in progress.
I don't know, I had a message there. Fake invoice recognition, which is automatic detection of an invoice which will not follow the trend. Okay, so this is something also that we have. And we are also able to populate automatically a customs declaration from an invoice. Okay, all these topics will be covered by ARA. So the company is always progressing. As you know, in 20 years, we have covered the majority of what we could do in terms of trade. As I said, custom system, big data with dashboarding, but also single window for trade, and then classification and valuation, followed by tracking of containers in the corridor. And then now all operations within the port with the release of containers, right? And all of this accessing a wonderful system of risk management, which is articulated by classical rules, profiled and complemented with artificial intelligence. And this is what ARA is going to show us now. Okay, so thank you very much. We hope that you will enjoy the small demo by ARA.
Thank you very much, Pascal. Pascal, will you be leaving now, the meeting? I think you have other meetings, right?
I will just say during Ara's demo, maybe a few minutes, and then I will leave the meeting.
Anybody has any questions for Ara? Any comments? All is good? After the demo, sure. Ara, you have, I know Ara was prepared to do the demo on Microsoft Teams. This is basically, we work basically on Microsoft Teams more than we do on Zoom. Do you have any issues, Ara, with Zoom, doing the demo on Zoom?
No. I was able to adjust because I wanted to show some one of our mobile applications as well, but it's fine now. I can do it.
Great, thank you. You can go ahead, please, with the
Thank you.
demo, and if you want to make a statement before that. Thanks.
Thank you. So good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be present in this meeting and have the opportunity to show a very brief introduction of our some of our artificial intelligence products. My name is Ara Shamirzayan. I am the director of R&D offices in WebFontaine. Right now, we do have over 250 technical staff in our R&D, and we have 4 main R&D centers in Manila, Philippines, Lyon, France, Ukraine, and also Yerevan in Armenia. And so during my today's demo, I will be mainly focusing on some of the features that we have, which are working based on the artificial intelligence algorithms. And we'll show you some of the use cases that these algorithms may have, particularly in the risk management solutions that we offer. Now, just a small note that majority of the modules that we will see are prepared for demo purposes, and the data that is there is for demonstration only. Hence, some of the graphs or numbers might not be realistic, but these products are working in a number of countries already that we are live. So let me show my. I'm sorry, it says the screen sharing is disabled. If the Zoom admin can please enable the screen sharing. Thank you. You are not seeing.
We see your screen, Ara. It's fine. We see it.
No, it's not. It's the right. It was not the right window. Okay, now I see the right window. Sorry for this. Okay, so I'm going to show you a bunch of features that we have, and the first item, that first module that I would like to show you is what we call as automatic fraud detection in declarations. In this representation, you can see different fields of declaration, and we are by processing these fields, our module is able to basically predict the presence of a fraud within a declaration. So we have defined the fraud as any change that happens in the declaration after its submission, which results into increase in the assessment amount. So this particular example that I am showing you here has 4 items, and based on our engine prediction, out of the 4, we have 3 that have a potential fraud, and there is 1 which is in gray area. So the ones that are mentioned as being as a potential fraud, we can see different items within the declaration that are constituting the to the prediction of being fraud, which we can see. Let's say the among them we have the consignee code, we have amount of invoice for that item, we have custom office, declarant code, and so forth. And the same report exists for all different items. And they might be varying depending on the contents of the item. So the system provides some information to the examiner as to why it predicts this item to be fraud. And also, here we have a list of similar items to this declaration from the previous items in the database that shows similarities to this particular item. So by using the references to the memories, again, the application provides assistance for the examiner to conduct the particular examination. So the way now this works, if I have a different item, now I will have a different prediction. As you can see, the list gets modified, and the similarity reports also is being updated. So this particular module works parallel to the criteria-based risk engine that is existing, and the system is configurable. So we may configure in a way that the smart fraud detection becomes like a dominant decision maker as to whether to conduct selectivity or not, or it can be more of a recommending engine, and the criteria-based system is basically the dominant one, and the artificial intelligence-based engine is providing suggestions. Now, the other element that I would like to present here is what we have
Ara?
as the...
Can I
Yes?
cut you just for 1 minute, even less? I wanted to add one
Sure.
comment on the previous algorithm that you see here. You know, actually, customs expert and the R&D centers have been working together to make sure we have a system that is really helping the customs officer in the end. And you know, a lot of algorithms powered by artificial intelligence are able to tell you whether there is fraud or not, but it's more difficult to tell you what is fraudulent or what has generated this high probability. So basically, our people have been working on a kind of reverse engineering process to tell you this is the item that is fraudulent, or this is the customs code that is generating the fraud. And that is something very specific to our solutions. Sorry, Ara.
No, thank you. Thank you for the comment. And as rightly mentioned by Sami, this is the information that Sami is referring to, which is itemizing per each item the elements that are basically being considered as impacting the decision whether there is a probability of fraud in this particular item or not. So for this, we are using multiple different methods combined with one another to be able to achieve these results. Okay, moving forward, I would like to show you our AI-based HS classification engine, which you can see here. This particular one, I am showing you what we have currently running in Nigerian trade portal. And this is a feature which is basically accessible to public. Now, using this system, we are able to basically classify goods using their commercial descriptions, as we see. I have done a search here for a tire brand, Bridgestone, and as you can see here, it provides basically the classification for this part. And also by clicking them, I can drill down to the HS code level, and I can see also all the tariff tree basically related to this particular code. And this engine works in multiple different codifications available in the industry, and is able to perform the search and then classify the corresponding HS code. In all equivalent commercial HS search engines, it only works with the specific tariff description, which you can see here. So this is the tariff description, and our engine is just able to link it or analyze it just by defining the basically the commercial description of that. Now I will show you a different use case of this part, which is linked to our image processing engine, and then we are able to process this information from an image of an invoice document. So for that, let me show you this element. So here you can see a file that it's actually an image file of an invoice, and if I process this image file, okay, I need to change the invoice so you can see how it works. So when I upload an image of the invoice to this model, it starts processing it, and you can see here the separating lines. This identifies different areas of the invoice. And then from the image file, we are able to identify different parts of corresponding, that corresponds to different fields of the customs declaration, and then extract the text from the invoice and then populate the declaration. So these are actually all text already converted to text, and you can see different areas of the invoice which are processed and then converted to the text. So this feature, combined with the classification engine that we have, provides us a tool to actually convert the commercial description that we see in the invoice into an HS code. And then we have two different use cases for this one. The use case number one is actually for the trade community, for the brokers. They are able to pre-populate a customs declaration using a scanned image of an invoice file. But the second use case here is actually for the customs authorities, where they can run these image files that are coming with the customs declaration through Risk Engine. And by extracting the information coming from the scanned images and comparing to what was declared in the declaration, perform basically the standard documentary verification, which is done usually manually by customs personnel. So we are able to perform automatically the documentary verification of customs declaration using these methods. But this whole thing does not end here. We have a few more verifications which we are able to perform on the images, invoices of images of the invoice that comes with the declarations. The first element, which is again part of the custom yes.
Maybe before you move to the fake invoice detection, I just wanted to add a few things on what we're seeing here on the screen. You know, basically what we're seeing here is that this invoice, whatever the elements on it, whatever the format of the invoice, we're able to extract the data. So you should not see it as one more OCR capability. That is only a small part of it. The system is able to understand the data and to link it with fields within the declaration or within any document, any commercial document. So you can have the address at the bottom or on the left, on the right, the system will get it. And the system can also actually recognize what type of documents it is reading. You can have a commercial invoice or a packing list or a bill of lading, and the system will actually understand what type of document it is. So now back on the controls we can do on these type of documents. Basically, some countries, they'd like to facilitate further operations, and you can have importers or declarants filling in automatically their documents or the declaration. That's one part. Some other customs administration prefer to let declarants do their declarations, but to have automated checks done by the system, and they may eventually apply penalties on fraudulent transactions. Sorry, Ara, you can move ahead.
No, thank you, Sami. So the next feature that I would like to show you is again, part of the documentary check process that customs officials are conducting is actually prediction whether or not an invoice document is genuine or fake. So I have here a sample of 3 different invoices. These are actual copies of actual invoices that we have received in one of the countries that we operate. And as you can see, they are all issued from the same supplier, AACM Group. But the one in the middle has a totally different layout compared to the other 2. So what we do here, first we assume that the same basically exporter, same supplier uses the same layout for their invoices. So there is this overall design of the invoice. We have the logo here, and then the information for the exporter, and then the part of the description of the item, and so forth. And then using this assumption, we define the golden truth invoice per supplier. And then the following invoices that are being submitted to the system are compared to this golden truth image. And then if there are differences in the layout, we are basically based on the threshold determining whether or not this particular image is genuine or fake. You can see the one in the middle has 26% similarity to the main invoice, and the one in the right side has 86% similarity. So you can define the threshold, and then based on the threshold, decide the potential of invoice being a fake one. We also conduct analysis on the metadata available with each image or PDF file, and the system is able to determine if the original invoice has been tampered with, let's say, a Photoshop or any other editing application to modify its content or to add other images. Sometimes there is a case where they would remove the signatures or stamp, or add a signature or a stamp image from a different file to the file being submitted. So in system is able to identify those modifications and also alert. So this is also another stage of automatic documentary verification that is conducted by the system. There is just small parentheses here that in order for this particular module to work, there is a need to define the sets of genuine invoices per supplier in the country. So this particular module will not work immediately. It will only work after analysis and determining manually what are the genuine invoices per supplier, and then we define them in the system. Then afterwards, it will start working, and then based on the comments that the system would receive, it will start adjusting itself accordingly as well.
Maybe, Ara, if you allow, one more word on the importance of this model within the context of the single window. In a single window, we'll never ask for 2 times the same information from any economic operator. Once it has submitted the information, it's the role of the single window to share the same information with the different stakeholders. Having said that, that means that if the input is bad, you're going to share the same bad or fraudulent information along the chain. So it's crucial to make sure that the early documents, such as the commercial invoice, by the way, having a huge importance in the commercial transaction, we need to make sure that this document is a genuine one. And that's why, in the context of the single window, it's extremely important to control these type of documents.
Thank you, Sami. Now, another set of information that we have here, which is a continuation of the cascade of verifications that we are able to do, and also a processing of the images that we are able to do, is the module that I'm now showing you, which is the price prediction module. So this one, again, works based on the classification engine description or directly the HS code. I have the same example that I was showing you there for the tire. And I am putting the commercial description here, and I'm putting the country of origin. And when I do predict, so from first, it brings up the HS code associated with that, but also it would provide the price estimation that you can see here. So this particular feature paired with extraction of the information from the image of the invoice provides a very useful information for the risk experts to determine whether or not the price provided is correct or is within the range of the acceptable prices in the database of the system. So we have three elements here. We are extracting the information from the invoice, comparing it with what the declarant has submitted, and also we are verifying the information based on the database price that we have in the system. So by performing these verifications, we are able to conduct the same risk assessment that is being done by the risk experts on the field. Okay. I will show you now a few elements that we have, which are not entirely artificial intelligence components, but they come to provide assistance to customs management in the risk department to maintain or administer the classic rule-based engine that exists in the system. So
Ara?
here I'm showing you.
Maybe before we
Yes,
move to that part, I just wanted to make a small comment on what you have seen, but I just don't want this to be shared on social networks. It's a bit confidential. The thing is, you understood we have a lot of different modules that have been developed. And actually, when you think of each of these modules separately, you understand that you can connect them easily. And what we're saying here is that the company is actually working towards achieving a fully automated process from the invoice up to the release of the goods. So what I'm saying is you start with the commercial invoice. The system will automatically understand it is a commercial invoice, could be a different document, whatever. It will extract the data from this document. It will automatically create a customs declaration, for example. It will then look for the appropriate classification of goods. It will then look for the appropriate value of goods. It will then submit the declaration, and you can have all these steps that are fully automated in a safe way because the data as input will be checked, and then the content of the data or the content of the invoice will also be checked by the system. So you are actually building something which is fully automated across the chain. Then should you have a port community system in the country or a tracking of goods system in the country, you can also connect these systems to the single window to make sure they get the right data and that all the transaction is controlled. So that's what we are aiming for, and it can be live now. So we can move ahead. Rani, please.
Yeah. Also, it triggers the basically automatically what are the licenses, permits that are required. So all of this is automated. So then it will go to the OGA saying that there is a permit or a license that's required depending on the HS code that has been properly classified in the declaration. Please go ahead, Ara. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sami and then Rani for these comments. Now, as the some enhancements in the administration of the classical rule-based engine, we have a dashboard that basically provides us a summary of all the criteria that exist in the system, and that provides how successful those criteria are. How successful those criteria are in the system. So again, what I'm showing you here is test data. This is coming from our one of our test environments. So obviously the statistics that you see here could vary if it's in the if it's come from the actual environment. However, in most of the countries, we still see a huge number of physical examination. So the information here, basically, I have three group of criteria listed here. I have in the middle, I have a list of criteria that is coming from, these are currently enabled criteria in the system. And I apologize for the numbers that you see here. So the criteria and the assessment that we have here basically mentions that how many times this particular criteria has hit declaration and what has been the efficiency of that particular hit in the system. So for these criteria that now are currently enabled, you can see that there is no efficiency identified with this criteria. This means that the criteria has actually worked because we have a big number of basically selections, but they have not been helping in detecting fraud. Again, the definition of fraud is, in this particular example, is when post-entry modification happens into a declaration which results into change of assessment. For example, if we perform a post-entry modification and change location of goods from one shed to another shed, this will not change the assessment amount for that particular declaration. Hence, the system will not consider that as a fraud. But if the, let's say, the total weight of the package is increased, or the price of the goods is increased, or let's say the classification of the goods from one HS code is changed to a different HS code, where resulting that the tariff rate is changed, then the system will consider this as a fraud. So assuming the goal of each criteria is to basically capture frauds, hence these particular criteria are not so useful to the system. So what do? We have a mechanism where based on the available historical data, system is proposing new criteria and which again works in the rule-based environment engine, and but provides a big efficiency in the detecting the frauds. So for example, what these particular elements that this provides, it guarantees to have 74% efficiency, meaning that out of 100 selections or out of 100 hits, 74 of them will be a fraud, would contain a fraud declaration item. So this dashboard provides assistance for the administrators of the risk engine. They can decide to, here I can see the basically the content of the this particular declaration, this particular criteria. And as you can see, the numbers here, etc., they are not very routine numbers. This is because it's generated by system using some mathematical calculations, and the goal is just to increase the efficiency. So after seeing it, even the examiner can actually modify the content if they want to do that, and then just save the criteria into the system, and later on this criteria will start working alongside with the other standard criteria in the system. So basically, this is the capacity that is provided for the examiners to more efficiently manage the rules in the selectivity rules in the system.
Maybe
I'm going to show you.
I can give a few examples on what we have seen here, but in real life, very often when we go to different countries, we realize that they do have a lot of criteria that are manually or static criteria that basically reflect the experience of the examiners. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's good. However, none of the examiners can tell you that these criteria is useful or efficient or not. They've just applied them for a long time and they believe it's quite good. But when you realize that they are not good, you just realize that basically you are selecting a lot of goods, so you are actually delaying the process for the economic operator a lot, and then you are taking a lot of resources from OGAs. OGAs have very limited number of people to work on inspection. And sometimes a few of the OGAs or several OGAs have to do the inspections at the same time with customs. So you're actually scheduling a meeting to get a lot of resources, opening a container, and you do not find anything. This is actually a disaster for trade, and it has to stop. And these kind of modules will help you to basically only keep the efficient criteria and to get rid of what you believed to be good criteria.
Thank you, Sami. And just to add more, these particular dashboards we are able to provide statistics on all different criteria in the system that comes. It doesn't have to be specifically written from our system. So it works. It plugs into external risk engines as well. Now, sorry, I would like to show you a simulator that we have for criteria simulation. So this functionality provides a method for the risk administrators to test their criteria before applying it to the system. So most of the time, what we see is the examiners or the risk administrators see the results of their modifications to the system after it's being enabled into the production environment. And sometimes this can have big impacts on the port operations if suddenly they run a criteria which causes a big number of hits into the system, into a specific port. It will result into big congestion in the port because, let's say, they don't have the resources to conduct that level of examinations. So the simulator basically provides a very quick simulation of the situation or the impact of each particular criteria that we want to apply to the system. So using this, we are able to avoid any surprises that we may face by just adding directly the criteria to the system. Let me check. So these were basically all different elements that I wanted to show. I also want to show you the mobile application that we have for inspection on the ground. Now, let me stop this and I will. Okay. Now, I'm showing you our mobile inspection application, which basically is available for iOS and Android devices. Again, the data that you can see here, this is all test data. So as an examiner, when I log into the application, I am able to see the below information. First, I can see the number of inspection documents that are generated for and assigned to me, and I can see how many of them are now in the process. And below, I am seeing the list of different items that I have worked recently on them. Now, you can see also here that we have different type of inspection documents. This one is a license document. This one is a declaration document. So the inspection documents are basically generic. They can be plugged into any type of e-document in the system that is linked with the risk assessment. Now, if we open, for example, a declaration document, here I see the summary of this particular declaration. I see different HS codes that are there. I can actually perform a search on the HS codes if the number of items in the declaration are big, and I see the summary of the basically the declaration. I can also see different attachments that are available for this declaration. And here you notice there are basically two separate parts. There is a part which shows the attached documents that are coming together with the declaration. So these are what has been submitted by the declarant when creating the set. And I can see here we have also attachments that were done by previous examiners while examining this particular document, which I'll explain you shortly. And then here I can see the summary of previously done examination on this particular declaration. So you have here the current color, which is originally it was red, and then it was now has been rerouted to purple, and then the previously actions that have been applied for on this particular declaration. You can see there were comments by the previous examiner on this declaration. Now, as an examiner myself, I can perform the verification on the screen. I can decide if I want to maintain the same color, or if I want to, let's say, reroute the color, reroute the declaration to a different color. And I can define if there were there is any specific fraud in the declaration that I want to highlight. I can actually have multiple frauds or a single fraud here. So I am defining the fraud here. I can upload any missing file that I have, and let's say I can take a picture, or I can browse from the files within my my phone. If I want to take picture, I can take the picture and then attach to the system. The other element that we have here is I can actually voice record the comments that I have during the examination, and then attach this voice recording to the file. So the aim of this is to ensure we are capturing everything on digital manner, because the other way is to perform to write down the comments, but we have noticed that usually during the physical examinations, it's more convenient for the examiner just to record their comments rather to type it down. So in order to avoid them writing in a piece of paper and then going back and type it in the system, we are able to provide them with the facility to basically record their comments and then keep it in the system. Once everything is done, then I can perform verification, and then this one will be submitted to the system. In order to perform find, I can perform search based on the barcode in the system. Now it will not work, but if the printout of the application has of the declaration has a working barcode, you can find and retrieve this barcode directly from the system. We have all different types of alerts, notifications that are basically available in the system, and we can perform a different type of search, and the application will provide the corresponding search, and I can reset the search to its original. So basically here, yes, we have language controls, so it can we can change the language from the system settings to we have right now French and Arabic available in the languages, and let's see, yeah, and then you will have the application, same application running in basically Arabic. Yep. So this was all different features that I had planned to show you, very high level and briefly. If there are any questions, comments, you are more than welcome to raise them, please.
thanks for the details. Just one question: that is there any impact assessment you people have made? The countries which are using the custom systems which are using this application. So any kind of detections so you have and their legal outcome by that country, whether it went well or it's just an indication of some sort of fraud or kind of misdeclaration.
Yes, go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, thank you for asking the, the question. I think it's maybe one of the sections we should have presented here, because having the best technologies or good technologies and not having results wouldn't help. And yes, we do have very good track records. I'll let Ara talk more on the data in regards to fraud and so on. But I can give you a few figures from a few countries. In terms of increase in revenue, for example, Côte d'Ivoire, so Ivory Coast, that has taken the single window system, has seen a plus 83% in revenues. It's actually linked to customs revenues. I'm not even taking into consideration OGA revenues or port revenues, but customs revenue is actually accounting for more than 50% of the country revenue. So we had a 83% impact there. Also, the time it used to take for the pre-import part, which is really linked to the single window. So I mean, all the certificate that you need to get, the domiciliation with the commercial banks, central banks, etc. It used to take up to 72 hours. Now it takes only 4 hours. That's the maximum. In Nigeria, they have taken our custom system and they have tripled their customs revenue. So I mean, in Nigeria, they obviously had a lot of issues to fix, but the custom system really helped them. In a neighboring country, in Benin as well, it was more than 30% increase in revenue, mainly due to the classification and valuation part, and that was right after we started. They had a huge impact in Bahrain as well, but mainly due to also other factors within customs. It has to be noted that when we implement new technologies, we rarely automate the process as they are. We do reforms, we change things to make sure that technology really helps in the process.
So do you, is it, sorry.
Sorry, I just want to add that in the presentation, we have some examples with figures about what we were able to achieve in a couple of countries. We will show you that in the presentation as well. Okay, thank you.
So just one question: how the local RMS they have their own, must be having their own risk management system. So how they integrate with this component with them, or it's either a standalone kind of application or a utility available on their screens, or that is integrated with their RMS?
Again, great question. When we usually implement the single window in a country, the intent is not to replace the existing systems unless there is a will by the agency to change the system. In many countries, actually, they are moving to our platform, but in some countries, they're actually interconnecting their existing system to our engine. And I think maybe, Ara, you may want to give a few, to tell a few words already on Egypt, because that's a case where we're taking data from the custom system, processing it in our system and sending it back. So maybe you want to add a few words, Ara?
Sure. Thank you. Yes, it's actually a very important matter. Both our URM engine, Universal Risk Management engine, as well as all the different AI modules that I demonstrated before, they are all working as an standalone applications. They work in the system interfacing. So there is web services for each of the modules, and then they work. The risk engine itself, as Sami mentioned, we do have right now ongoing project with Egypt, where we are basically plugging in our universal risk management module to their existing customs and then single window solutions. So the engine is being configured to receive transactional data from single window as well as the custom system, and then perform risk assessment and then provide results. So different components. There is a core universal risk management module. It one, and it's all individual artificial intelligence modules that I show. They work independently. The inspection application that I show also works independently. So for the case of, let's say, Egypt, during the first phase, they are going to maintain their own inspection application. And so we will not plug in our inspection application. It will work separately. The note here is when we are saying if we put entire of the solution there, we are basically the sole responsible for integration and then data cleanup and all different activities. But if it goes with as sort of the plug-in part, it means that the other side will need to be able to call the APIs, to call the entry points, and then receive the response. So there is a little bit of technical collaboration between the two systems that will need to be worked on. But on purely technology part, they are standalone application, work on microservice architecture.
I just add few words on Egypt. I just came back 2 days ago from there, and the project is, the environment there is quite similar to Pakistan, because few years ago they created a single window company called Nafiza, or window in Arabic. And it's very similar to what you are doing in Pakistan, single window. And the customs management system is a homegrown system, like Webok in Pakistan. It's quite old, and there's a lot of now improvement taking place, and we're even helping them to improve some of the with this project there, on the way that customs is managing risk and is doing the classifications using the smart classification tool, etc. So we're also working with very big OGAs there. Sorry? The ACI?
The new system, the ACI.
The ACI is a different system, it's advanced carbon information, which is being plugged with a single window. That's a separate thing.
But they made that part of that their Nafiza a single window.
That is a requirement now in order to export.
That's totally a different kind of scenario. It's totally different than ours.
That's an additional element, the ACI in Egypt. And basically it's based on the reciprocity. Mainly if you, let's say a country obliges you to do the same, then you have to do the same when you export to Egypt. So they are rolling it out now, and we're also...
Are the two teams are collaborating with each other, right? Because the Egyptian side is going to use your IRMS system.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Your developers are sharing some kind of documents with them, the API documents, right?
Correct.
If I'm right.
And in fact...
if I may give... Hani, sorry, if I may,
go ahead,
I think it's important that we understand clearly how this system operates. In Egypt, what we've been asked to do is to plug our RMS system to customs declaration. Okay, but customs declaration are inspected by customs, and they are also inspected by ministries, OGAs. Right. So in the first place, we were asked to take their criteria, their risk profile, integrate them into our risk management system, and run them in parallel with the Egyptian risk management system applied to customs declarations. but with criteria, selectivity criteria, belonging to customs and others belonging to OGAs. Okay, this is what we did. It was phase one. It worked pretty well. We were having the same results, of course, as their system. The second phase actually is the most interesting one. This is what we are doing now. As you saw before, and what Ara showed you, is that our ML system is able to detect fraud, but it's also able to give you the selectivity criteria that would have selected fraud without ML, right? So ML will give you fraud over the suspicion of fraud over one transaction. However, the system, as we saw, is not only giving you a selection of fraud, is also giving you something which is very important in ML, which is the explanation. So if you have deep learning system, you will never have any explanation why, for example, this system is giving you this information. Like why, if you play a game, an artificial system will play a game, why he would play that way, he will never tell you because he doesn't know himself, okay? So in our case, this is what we saw before, we are able to know why we are selecting this declaration because we apply another algorithm that will vary, make some parameters vary, and according to the variation, we will be able to know that this is because of company code or this is because of HS code, etc. And also we are digging into the database to find similar declarations in the past. And all of this enables us to automatically build criteria, okay, but also build compliance files, compliance indicators for companies, for declarants, for combination of products with country of origin, all sorts of clusters, right? So because we are able to build those criteria and to build this compliance file, automatically the criteria of selectivity that Egypt Customs has given us will be progressively complemented with our criteria, which are built automatically. So in the end, it's our ML system that will be all the criteria which will take over, in fact, the risk management system of Egypt. And to that end, what we need is the feedback from examiners. At the moment, the feedback, as we said, is given by customs, but very soon we will deliver our inspection module that will be directly given to customs and OGA. So I just wanted to see how we give you a core system, we take your criteria, but very quickly our criteria will take over because they are ML built. This is how it works. Thank you.
Hello, this is Asim. I just wanted to get more details regarding the point we were discussing, the fake invoicing and the ability of your system to read the metadata of documents that have been uploaded by the system. So could you please provide details? Because as far as I have understood, if the system is really able to understand the metadata, the detections will go beyond just invoices. It maybe tell us whether there has been any tampering done with BL, for example, or other such documents. So could you please provide more details? And have there been, I'm sure there must be very good detections based on this system. So could you please tell us about any detections made using your system? Thank you.
If I may just summarize quickly, we in artificial intelligence, you're giving transactions or you're giving anything like a picture. If I show you a picture of a cat, after I show you hundreds and millions of pictures of the cat, the system will be able to find that this is a cat. Okay, if you show him another picture, right? So why? Because he has a neuron structure where he's able at the end to recognize the ear of the cat and then the legs of the cat, and then it says, okay, this is a cat, right? So with customs declaration, it's the same thing. What we do, we take all the features of the customs declaration. So we take the data elements from the general segment, company, etc., and we take the data elements for the items, the goods which are imported, HS code.
I think if I summarize the question, is rather interested into the PDF detection, the fake invoice, but the metadata, not the part that you're describing, the other one. Ara did a presentation and he explained that the system is actually...
We take the features, but also what we take is the attached documents as well, which are features of the declaration, the PDF files as well, and we send all of this to a network of neuron algorithms.
Sorry, Pascal. I think there is a misunderstanding. I think there is a misunderstanding on the question. I think really the question, correct me if I'm wrong, is on what Ara has shown with the 3 invoices, and you would like to understand how we use metadata in the process. That's you get the question around this?
Yes. It's good. Basically, from what we have seen, we do have, thanks to our valuation classification services that we provide for some countries, we have access to a huge database of supporting documents like specifically invoice files as well as bill of lading and so on. So what we have seen, majority of the tampering efforts that are being done are quite elementary parts. They don't go to figure out really complex solutions there. So what we do in the metadata information, there most of the time, if it is on the PDF format, usually you have versions of stored information. You have a trace that the image file has been edited. There were 2 separate image files that are merged into one. So we are able to know if, let's say, the file has been modified by a Photoshop or not. And because if it was just a simple scan of a document, you won't have any of those traces there. So if we figure out any of these traces, it raises a flag that this is most probably a fraudulent document. And yes, we do process now not just the invoice. We do process the files for bill of lading as well, and try to analyze. The most advanced solution that we have now is on the invoice files, and from the biggest achievement that we have here is saving of the time, because if you don't have these verification processes, you will have to do them manually. So there is a huge impact on the processing time of verification that we have experienced. And yes, of course, as the processing time shortens, we also, because it's done by the system, the accuracy is also increased as a result.
I'd like maybe to
these particular tools are working now in our team, with our team for which performs classification and valuation services for a couple of African countries.
Maybe I'd like to add one more comment on how we can use these kind of solutions because you understood that there is a technical part, the technology part, but in some countries you realize that even if you detect there is that is a fake invoice, then acting on it is something different. And this is also where the company has some experience in changing the laws, customs laws or trade laws, or doing reforms to make sure we can apply penalties. Can give you examples. In some countries, the invoices are given very early in the process, and they come along the pre-import declaration, not even the declaration, which is a document that is submitted in the single window. And at that time, actually, in the pre-import process, the attached documents do not have a real legal value. So even when you catch a fake documentation, it's still pretty difficult to apply penalties. So that's also where we can help countries. It's making sure that you have the right legislations and regulations to improve the level of compliance of the trade partners.
All right. What I have gathered from the presentation is that on the basis of invoices, basically the format and the whatever on the invoice, the system will recognize that if something different or from the previous invoices, it will keep on matching particulars of the previous invoices. And if something different it appears on a particular invoice, so it will trigger an alert. That's how it is, right? So what if somebody is managing the invoices right from the beginning or something like that? Then what's the way out there?
You mean having a kind of proper invoice that looks like yeah, I fully get you. That's a very good question, and that's why the check should not only be done on the invoice and should also come. We can extract HS code, we can extract then the exact description of goods. And we can also go into our database of valuation, for example. If you see that there's a big discrepancy between the price that should have been the real price and the one on the invoice, you can have big doubts on the origin of the invoice. So it's a multiple checks at different level of the trade transaction that will help you make the right controls. Definitely. One more point to build on what you're saying is the more sources of data you have, the stronger your system will be. For example, in some countries, the single window is also linked to insurance companies. And very often the importers give the right invoice to these people because it's a big risk not to be properly insured. So the more sources you have, the more connections, better you're gonna have higher quality of the output.
Do any of you have any questions? Sarfraz, you can come over and ask questions. And any one of you can come over here.
I'm not even sure we should go to the PowerPoint because the discussions are even more interesting than having, yeah. Yeah, I think it's better. Yeah. I mean, hearing the questions you have, you obviously know a lot on the subject, and you got you got the points.
I do have a question that initially you were showing that you have a system from where you extract the data elements from a document and insert those data elements into the declaration. Do you have the option to read the multiple invoices or multiple documents to create the declaration, or that's just for the invoice or bill of lading?
Okay, I'm going to take this one, Ara, because it touches a bit also on the future strategy you have. So the reality is that the tools that you have seen here developed by the R&D centers can apply to any kind of document. So the question is, yes, it can be done with an invoice, can be done with a bill of lading, can be done with a packing list, whatever you want. We're much more advanced in the invoice processing than in other areas, but the reality is that we can use the same technologies to auto-populate a declaration. So the objective is to eventually have one folder in which you have all the different documents the system will understand what documents it is reading, and it will be in a position to extract properly the data and to fill in the appropriate documents. That is coming.
Thank you.
Also, just to mention the invoice, it is probably one of the most important documents, but it is a document that is least digitalized. Let's say for the we were mentioning bill of lading and then manifest information. These are, yes, also very important elements, but most of these are already digitalized, and then in the single window solutions, the system receives these from a different set of stakeholders from the shipping lines, and most of the time, broker and then shipping line, they are two separate entities. So having this information coming from the two different stakeholders is to a large extent reliable. And bill of lading and manifest information is captured from the shipping line. Probably one of the documents that is almost not digitalized, it is the invoice. And then that's why we focus first on the extracting the information from the invoice. But as Sami mentioned, we do have in the pipeline processing of all different paper-based documents, packing list as well. We have the packing list, which is another document that most of the time does not come digitally, but it's as important as bill of lading. So we are processing them.
Okay, my question is you define the data elements or capture the data elements from the invoice, that is metadata. How do you identify, how the system identifies it, this data element belongs to the commercial invoice or this is the packing list?
You mean how the system...
Excuse me, I couldn't hear the question clearly. If you can bring the microphone closer. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. My question is how the system identifies this document that from data elements you have captured from the document is a commercial invoice or is a packing list?
So it's basically how can the system make the difference between the commercial invoice or packing list.
Specific data elements, these data elements belong to commercial invoice or these data elements belongs to packing list?
I think it's rather a technical question, Ara, for you.
Yes, it's not the metadata, it's just actual data. And then we are able to, using some OCR methods, we are able to understand the content in the image, and then from there to identify the type of the document. So yes, it's the first, not the first. If we assume determining whether or not this is a genuine document as being the first step, the second step is indeed to identify if the document, the type of the document, let's say, is it an invoice, is it a packing list, or is it a bill of lading, or others? So yes, there is a stage of determining the type of document, and it goes from the content, the content that is there. So as we saw, we are able to extract the content, identify what they are, and then based on that to identify what is the type of the document.
Okay, thank you.
Vadid, if you have anything to ask, you may come on the stage and ask your question.
So my question is related to the the ML structures. Like most of your algorithms and features are based on machine learning. So my question is that initially there is a law that a certain document will have 10 elements in it, and you train your ML structure based on that 10 elements. Afterwards, the law changes and there is introduction of 1 or 2 more elements in it. So does the single window team will require Web Fountain to retrain their structure, their models on based on that, or like we can do it ourselves, like the system will do it ourselves, or we will be needing web front-end support to like retrain the whole system according to that change?
Thank you. It really depends on what is changed, the extent of change, and its implication. In usual, we do have retraining that happens, let's say, and based on the result of the analysis, that the preliminary analysis that we do, the frequency of retraining is also identified. So for now, in the countries that smart fraud detection is live, we have there is a place where we have every other week retraining. There is a place where we do every week, but this retraining happens automatically. But there are events that, as you mentioned, changing of the fields. There is another event like changing of tariff book. These events, most of the time, would require some engineering work to be done. Let's say if the tariff is changed, we need to have the mapping that okay, this old HS code is discontinued, but there is a new HS code which is linked to this one. So we have to enter this to the system if we want to have the results, keep the results in the same level and as fast as it is. There is a retraining process. Eventually, given the feedback that the system receives from the user, it adjusts. But if you want it to be done quickly, there is a engineering work to be done, and the engineering work on algorithms will be conducted by web front-end.
Okay.
Maybe I'll add one more element of answer to this question, not particularly linked to the ML part or AI, but generally on how we work with the countries and with partners. And I'm very genuine and serious on this. In my answer is we really want to have a strong and tight collaboration with the people we work with, and we never hide information or knowledge. It's actually the opposite. We have built our reputation, and the philosophy of the company is really to share the knowledge in both sides, in fact. And we'll never try to hide our technologies or knowledge or whatever to try to stay longer in a country. That's not how we operate. We just understood, and with a big difference from other companies sometimes, that the more you collaborate, the more you share, the longer you stay as a partner with the government, because that's what people like to do. So you'll see, even if one day we can collaborate and work together, it's going to be very clearly said in the contracts that how things are going to happen. And I also want to add one more thing on this. Obviously we're here because you are extremely interested in becoming a partner of your country and your company. And the way we usually work in countries, we don't need to be in front of everything. That's not. We'd like to actually build good solutions that will work and develop the country. You can get all the credit, have your interface, whatever, and we just act as partners. That's perfectly fine. But we're really interested in trying to build something with you in Pakistan.
So, sir, I think you should come here and conclude or whatever.
Last two questions. One is that the data you have for the machine learning. So the data is coming your partner countries, or you have also independent databases from where you fetch you apply your business rules, or that data is only of the countries where you are partnering. One question.
Yeah, I think it's a very smart question in the sense that the answer now is yes. Usually when we have algorithms and things working for one country, it's based on the data within the country. It's right that we also have independent databases For example, in the classification and valuation process, you have access to external databases giving you some prices of commodities or whatever. So that's a reality. But what I wanted to say is we're also looking for a different model for the future in which countries would love to partner into a kind of higher purpose AI ML program where we could share more information and data amongst countries to basically improve the way algorithms may work. And when you have like private or public companies owning the single window in a country, it's actually easier to discuss with neighbors or other countries and have such open partnerships.
So do you have other commercial data from other organizations also the part of your database?
In fact, the thing is the servers we have are always in the countries, okay? And we're not choosing data from one country to the other without any permission of the country. So the data is owned by the country. Now, if we can have partnerships and have using different countries' data.
So it means you will be using our database for applying all your the business rules or the.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So in the beginning, there will be flat kind of thing as the machine learning starts, and then.
This is correct.
Yeah, that will work like that.
It's correct. Mary, maybe Ara, you can explain a bit more on how long it takes to train the system and to auto-populate things and so on.
Yes, it actually very good question. You're actually raising one of the points which may have an impact on the implementation time. So it all depends how on the quality of the data that you have. We have been in places that basically in a matter of a month or so, we were able to adjust the quality, adjust the data, do the cleanup, and then perform the initial trainings of the model. But there have been countries where it actually took us a couple of months in order to get the data that is needed, because the historical data over there was not very useful to the application. Also, it depends on the amount of transactions that are there. I know Pakistan is a large country, so we will not have issue there. But there is average of like around 1 or 2 million lines that we need in order to properly perform the initial training for the models. So it all depends on the data that currently exists. Of course, if the data is not clean, some of the checks that we do, which is, let's say, seasonality related, that data will not be immediately available, because usually seasonality analysis is done on annual basis. So if you provide us with the data, let's say, of the past 2 years, and the data is good, the part of the module which works on the seasonality will provide results. If not, that part will just come by itself thanks to the retraining that happens in a matter of months.
Let's see. I think cleansing of data is another maybe a big task, but what you consider a fraud, maybe in Pakistan, you will not find in our database it as a fraud. So we have different kind of events or different kind of data fields available there. So I think there will be a lot of effort in defining those use cases, or to get exactly what your system considers as fraud. So maybe it gets for the normalization or the harmonization or alignment with your application, it may require some kind of even I don't know, software kind of intervention in your application. So whether you whether it is you also customize your application depending upon the country to country, or the application is there, you just play with the data fields, or the whatever you have in that data?
No, the definition of fraud, I fully agree. That could be different from one, and that's actually a customizable parameter. You define, okay, if you see this event, flag it as fraud, because that's the needed element when we have a list of transactions. The thing that we need to identify in order for the system to perform the training is, okay, out of this, let's say 100 transactions, this is the set that is fraud, and that is identified based on a certain formula, which may be different from one country to the other. That is actually one of the customizable parameters in the engine, and also we had cases that the set of elements that I was showing you there were a result of pre-processing. So what we usually do is, during the initial data cleanup and harmonization stage, we actually provide all the data elements that are available in the system. And then we start elimination of those elements that are not contributing to the results of the algorithm. And then we start eliminating those elements. Sometimes we do have some composite elements, like, for example, country of origin and HS code, or the three elements, country of origin, HS code, and price. So these elements are there initially, and then we eliminate them as we see they are not contributing to the final decision of the algorithm. All in all, it's not really approach is not really, okay, this is plug and play, and that we do it. Most of the time goes with a little bit of adjustments or even customization as it's needed.
But maybe we can even elaborate a bit more on this, because in countries, when we arrive, sometimes you have to immediately collaborate with trade experts. For example, for the definition of what is fraud, we just realized in some countries, even when you have fraud, they do not do any fraud report. They just change a few data in the declaration, but they never issue a fraud report. Or sometimes the fraud report is even done separately in a different database, and you don't have access directly to the data. So what is also important is that once you have the data, it's clean, algorithms are fed up and so on, we also need to make sure that we are defining the right process for the future. So we have to put in place offenses module, or a way to record properly fraud, and to make sure that we get results of inspection to continuously improve the system.
Okay. Just last questions. How to partner with different countries? It's kind of maybe a commercial kind of, but not in that specific terms, just kind of high level kind of information on what models you partner with, revenue models especially, like on a data or a data hit basis, or a yearly basis, or how these partnerships normally you transact?
That's a good question, and it really depends on the country. What we usually have as partnership is over a few years. It's a continuing partnership. We initially have duration from 5 to 7, 10 years. Sometimes could be sometime less, depending on the scope of the activities to be performed. We are also very open to different business models where we usually invest upfront for everything, but sometimes a local company can invest with us, but usually we invest upfront, and we find the best way to get our investment back. It can be a fee per transaction. It can be a percentage of an importation value. It can be a fixed amount per month. We're really open to any kind of mechanism. What matters is how can we work together in a way that you feel comfortable, but also that will guarantee that we can get our money back to pay for the investment upfront.
And you normally you don't work through presence in a country. Normally, you remotely provide all whatever support is required. It is remote kind of.
No, we usually are present in the country, and depending on the scope of activities, the office we can have in the country can be very big. So it will depend. It all depends on the partnership we have, and in your case, you have a lot of people on the ground already. So maybe we can have a limited team or a big team with you. But usually, we really want to be in the country.
Usually, we have a core project team at the size of
the country.
The opportunity and the number of resources that are required. But this is usually how we work, like in Egypt, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, and Abu Dhabi, Africa, the Philippines, Nepal, etc. We have project teams there on the ground,
And the
supported by our R&D centers, who basically will go back and forth to support the team there and do all the work that's necessary.
And the integration is cloud-based, I think.
It could be both. It could be a cloud-based, or it depends on what you want. In fact, we are very open to clouds, but we just realized that a lot of countries still want physical machines in their premises. But we like cloud. I mean, our solutions are compatible with the.
Many countries require on-premise, but the solution should be cloud-ready, so later on, and this is what we have.
No, currently you are having with like countries like Nigeria or the Ivory Coast, you are having cloud-based or no?
No, we are having on-premise servers,
On-premise
but now they are opening a bit to clouds. So sometimes you can have the disaster recovery side on the cloud, and then only the primary side on.
That's what we are now doing. We have a DR side to the cloud-based DR
Very
side.
good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you.
On the technology, on technology part and the deployment techniques, etc., that we are using, they are all cloud-based technologies. We just implement them in the on-prem servers. Right now, we are using Kubernetes orchestration tool in order to handle deployment and then manage infrastructure. So we will be happy and excited if more clients would be open to operate cloud. It's much more straightforward actually for us to operate cloud. But as my colleagues mentioned, there is a little bit of hesitations on the countrysides going into cloud. But for us, it doesn't really matter. And we do have our internal laboratories. Part of them are actually cloud, where we basically make sure that whatever we do, if tomorrow one of our clients says, okay, move everything to cloud, we will not need to basically do anything. We just copy the files there and it will work.
Thank you. Thanks from Pakistan Single Window, from our team, for whatever you demonstrated. Definitely, we are looking into different kind of solutions, applications, which we may require for our risk management engine. Currently, we are in the process of in the design. We had a design, but now we are in the phase of kind of, you say, implementation or in the technical documentation stage. So at this stage, we are also looking forward to have any partnership which can be of value to our system, to our risk management tool. So definitely, we will go back and present whatever. I think they know a lot about this, but this one-to-one presentation and this interaction will go a far way to make up our mind what is beneficial for Pakistan Single Window and Pakistan in terms of revenue, in terms of quality, in terms of output. which we get from partnership with a kind of organization which is working in different countries. So we'll definitely look into it and we'll get back to you whenever something concrete comes or whatever is decided by the senior management. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Web Fountain, I also like to thank you. You're hosting us at your place, almost your country, in Dubai. So thank you very much for your time. The very good exchanges we had today. It was very interesting. Finally, just to say, I reiterate our will to become partner of such a big country like Pakistan. If you do feel that you need more information or you'd like to visit any of our implementation, please feel free to tell us. We can organize this, even having a visit to Armenia or to maybe other countries to see how the R&D centers work. You are more than welcome to come and visit us. Thanks again to everyone.
Thank you. I just want to, yes, again, I repeat our appreciation, and basically we have had a lot of discussions so far with the CEO, with Aftab, with Sheikh Attar, and with Azim as well. And we have done previous demos and presentations covering also other topics like the port community system, which we have prepared the presentation, but I think we covered most of the things. We can share the presentation with you because it covers a few other elements and it gives some case studies on the achievements that we've done in certain countries, like what Sami was mentioning. So I don't think there is a need now to go into the presentation, but certainly we look forward to your feedback after you convene after this trip. I wish you a very successful trip and a very fruitful orientation session with the Pakistani trading community this afternoon. I think that will be very beneficial to bring what you are doing into the external world, and especially here with the trading relations being very important between Pakistan and the UAE. So thank you again very much, and we'll definitely keep in touch. Thank you, Ara and Pascal.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And I wish you a very good rest of the day.